Welcome. I'm Harmony Slater, your host of the Finding Harmony podcast, a place for you to discover the multidimensionality of what it means to cultivate harmony within your life. Having traveled all over the world, from India to China and Thailand, seeking radical self-love, I've learned the power of reconnecting to your heart's calling to create a life and business that's authentically aligned with your soul's purpose. And I'm here to share with you all the wisdom and insights I've gathered along the way. Over the past 20 years, I've taught thousands of yoga teachers and students to explore the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern everyday life, using mind-body practices to heal, awaken, and manifest their dreams from the inside out. This podcast is a sanctuary for those feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges. Together, we'll unravel the mental, emotional, and behavioral patterns that keep you stuck, using the lens of spirituality, personal development, and coaching to guide you on a journey towards greater fulfillment and integrative harmony. Are you ready to stop letting life get in the way? Let's invite the magic back in. Hello. So, I wasn't planning to record this particular episode, but over the past few days and weeks, my DMs and conversations I've been having with students have all been circling around one particular topic. And it's out there right now again, and it's this controversy or this debate, this call for justice around the certifications that were given out by Shruti after Sharath's passing back in November last year. And these debates and these opinions and the call to revoke or negate the authorizations, or particularly the certifications, has really called a lot of attention in social media. And I get it. I've been thinking a lot about where we're putting our attention and outrage. Honestly, though, what I keep thinking about and coming back to is, of all the places and all the things going on in the world right now, where we could be pouring our collective life force, is this truly a battle that needs to be fought? Is there anything to even fight about or be outraged about? Because I don't know if you've noticed, but my friends, the world is literally burning, flooding, and pretty much collapsing. Children are starving, coral reefs are dying, entire communities are being erased by war, and we, as the global Ashtanga yoga community, keep circling back around this question of who holds a certificate, who deserves to hold a certificate, and who deserves to give them out. And I say this as someone who holds one in a concerned way, but what does this certification really, truly mean? You know, the certification is not the yoga. A piece of paper neither makes you a good person nor a good yoga teacher. And so what is this debate really, really about? You know, I was certified by Sharath 10 years ago, and I practiced with both him and his grandfather for a decade before that. And I've shared many meals with his family. I've gone shopping with his wife, Shruti. I've played on the floor with his kids when they were young and taken them to movies and out on events like go-karting when they were older. And I also practiced in that shala day after day for many years, months at a time, feeling deeply into the rhythm of the breath, that room just breathing like one giant lung, and the vibration of 100 heartbeats just in the air. And so I understand what it is to grieve the loss of a past, of a place, and the loss of a person. And I understand that for many of us, a certification or an authorization, a recognition of some sort, this piece of paper represented that energy. And it represented our commitment, our dedication to a lineage and to the Parampara, the lineage of teachers, to the practice itself, to going to Mysore, to continuing our practice in a particular place with a particular person. But that person is no longer with us. And those days are also no longer with us. The place, yes, we can still go and visit it, but it will never be the same, and it's never going to be the same ever again. That time in all of our lives collectively is now over. And so here's where my mind keeps going whenever we circle back to this conversation, arguing over a list of names, is that Pakistan is underwater after record monsoon rains, and this is all made heavier by climate change. People are dying, losing their homes. In Sudan, 14 million people have been displaced by conflict. They're living with catastrophic hunger, which means that children are dying before they ever reach school age. And mothers are unable to nurse their babies because their own bodies are starving. And in Gaza, the earth is rubble. People are literally burying their dead with their bare hands. To me, these worldwide catastrophes, this devastation of the Ningaloo Reef in Western Australia after experiencing the worst coral bleaching in record history, more and more governments leaning into authoritarianism, tightening their grip on speech and media and dissent. It feels like we're moving one small step away from a kind of world that perhaps many of us don't really want to be a part of. AI is advancing so fast that jobs and industries and identities are shifting overnight. And I'm sure that you, if you slow down and really take in what's happening at a macro level to our world and feel it, perhaps you too feel like the ground beneath you is moving too quickly to find your footing. I know I do. And in that kind of uncertainty, of course, it's human nature to long for something that's stable, something that's familiar, something that you can cling to, even if it's just a set of rules or a structure or an old way of doing things or creating a system for a new way of doing things. But this time of uncertainty is just the reality of being human right now. And so I feel in a certain way that our little microcosm of Ashtanga yoga is a reflection of this deeper sense of loss that we're experiencing. And when I think about Sharath and I think about Ashtanga yoga and my time in Mysore, I think of a few things, and I hope that it helps you. I hope that these reflections help you navigate maybe through this time of uncertainty. But during one of his special courses in 2014, he said to our group, he said, "You are a very special group." And then he paused and he said, "I mean, you're not special." And we all laughed. And then he paused again. He said, "I mean, everyone is special." And so for the rest of that trip, we became the special, not special group. And I think it says a lot about how he felt about each and every one of his students. We were all special and not special all at the same time. And I also remember his deep love for his grandmother, Amma. You know, he talked about her energy being even stronger and more powerful than Guruji's or Pattabhi Jois's. He would say, because she was the one who supported my grandfather. She supported the whole family. She was a very powerful woman. And though she was very simple, I don't think I would have learned as much from Guruji, from his grandfather, without her. It's not just trying to do the yoga, but it's the energy around you too. And I feel like he would say the same thing about Shruti, that she also was a great support for him, that she has a great strength to her spirit, to her heart, and that she, like his grandmother, is a very wise woman. And so these things about Sharath, his love for his family, for his wife, for his grandmother, really gives me confidence that he would want his legacy, his lineage, to be in the hands of his family in some way. And that's going to look different. That's going to feel different. And even if Shruti decided that she did not want to have an Ashtanga Yoga Shala in Mysore, that would also be just fine. And I'm sure it would also be completely okay with Sharath, because at the end of it, yoga for him wasn't just about the asana practice. And yoga wasn't about having an empire of Ashtanga yoga practitioners who were all falling at his feet. At least I hope it wasn't. You know, I was looking for some quotes from him to remind myself and to help remind you, as my listener today, about where his heart was when it came to yoga. And I found two beautiful quotes that I hope bring you into his spirit. He said, "Beauty comes with transformation. It happens deep inside you. It affects how you think, how you act, and how you integrate yoga into your life. If you allow the transformation to happen within, then the realization occurs." It's deep. It's powerful. And it's about integrating the yoga into your life so that it changes you. It doesn't just become a habit or something that you do. It literally changes you so that you realize the truth of who you are. The other quote I found that I feel is particularly important at this time, at this stage in our world. "The fundamentals of Ashtanga Yoga are the yamas and niyamas. They are key ingredients to establishing the practice of yoga. If you follow the yamas and niyamas in your life, you won't get lost." Also, I pulled out where he was talking about ahimsa in the book Guruji, compiled by Guy Donahay. It's a bunch of interviews all about Ashtanga Yoga and Pattabhi Jois. But Sharath says ahimsa is non-violence. When the mind doesn't think bad things, then you won't act. You won't do it physically. Yoga practitioners should practice yama and niyama, practice ahimsa in themselves. They should be an example to other people, like Mahatma Gandhi. He said, "Ahimsa is my first dharma or duty." He said, "I am going to follow ahimsa. I'll be nonviolent." And many people were inspired by Gandhiji. He had lots of followers. So each person should be like Gandhiji. It is very difficult to be like him. Not everyone can be like him, but you have to try. That is the real yogi. So I feel like his stance on what yoga is and was is pretty clear. And so, of course, with everything that's going on in our world at large, there's going to be a reflection into our tiny little Ashtanga yoga community. And the easy tendency is to turn our attention towards measuring and ranking and competing and drawing lines about who's included and who's excluded and what's right and what's wrong and what needs to be justified and rectified and what has been given, what has been taken away. But when we really get down to the heart of what's happening and you sit and ask yourself, what does all this really mean? At the end of the day, for me, it comes down to grief. It comes down to feeling like your history, your life, your identity is like sand just slipping through your fingers. And it makes you want to hold on to it. It makes you want to hold on even tighter to protect this parampara, to protect your own identity, to protect decades and decades of devoting yourself to a person, to a practice, to a place. And yet, nothing is permanent. It's all impermanent, and it's all sand. And it's easy to want to feel like there's some order and some structure when someone that we loved, that we revered, is gone, especially when he was the linchpin in holding up the illusion of permanence, of structure. But really, certification was never something that had a lot of structure to it. You know, if you'd been in the community for long enough, you would have seen certain people receive certification and you were baffled and surprised at why that person received certification. And other people who had perfect asana practices, finished 4 series, had been devoted to Sharath doing translations for his books, were denied certification. So what was it really about? It was really not something that was linear, and it was not something that had any apparent structure to it. I feel like it's sad when we let our grief turn into division, when we let our own pain, the pain of loss, direct our attention and point fingers or police each other's worthiness, when this sense of loss or disconnection or lack of stability within ourselves creates disconnection in our community. And it makes sense. It makes sense to me why it is happening. But there's something in there that's betraying the very essence of what yoga means. Because yoga, meaning union, is about creating wholeness, coming back into wholeness, to recognizing our worthiness and the inherent worthiness and wholeness in others, within ourselves, within our world, creating union and connection with God, self-realization, God consciousness. That's the practice of yoga. That's where we're going. And when you study yogic texts, the Yoga Shastra, you can read that the world is one family. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, the yogi sees the self in all beings and all beings in the self. Such a yogi sees the same everywhere. There is no other. This is just a reflection of divine consciousness in infinite forms. But division is seductive, right? It makes us feel right. It makes us feel safe. It makes us feel like we have some security in our little corner of truth, somewhere we can plant our flag, and it gives us the illusion that we have control. And control feels easier often than sitting with uncertainty, than sitting with that sense of deep loss and the messiness of this changing world. But I think it's really about how we're distracting ourselves with problems that are really self-created and founded upon something that was always more of an illusion than any kind of objective reality. And whether this person has a certification or this person was certified by Sharath or by Shruti or by the greater community at large or by Manju Jois or Saraswati Jois or by, Dharma Mitra. What is the point? What does it really mean? Maybe they were certified by Gino and Tim. What does it really mean? It comes down to the person themselves. Who is that person as a human being, as a teacher? It has nothing to do with the piece of paper. And so, for me, the deeper work and the real practice of yoga is about staying present to what is, without needing to fracture into an us versus them scenario. Because when we let our energy get knotted around the things that don't actually improve life for ourselves or for others or for the planet, we're just leaking and losing and wasting this precious prana, this precious life force and energy that we truly need to meet the crisis of our time. And yoga at its heart is about untying these knots. That's the whole purpose of raising up your kundalini energy, of having enlightenment or God consciousness. It needs to move through the knots. Those knots need to dissolve and loosen. It's not about tightening the knots and creating more tension and more suffering, right? It's about how we sit and face suffering, how we be with what is, how we be with the suffering. So here is my challenge for you. What if instead of debating the validity of a piece of paper that may or may not actually mean anything at all, we actually use our practice and our years of practice, our decades of practice, to do something useful and show up for people in need, to show up more fully for the people in our lives, to show up with more presence, to feel purposeful in how we are going through our days? Can we gather funds for people in India or Pakistan or Gaza, or prayers or awareness for those who are starving in the Sudan? How can we take a deep inhalation and let our exhale be an offering of peace into the collective field? Because we are all connected, each and every one of us, not just in our Ashtanga yoga community, but around the world. And the death and the suffering, the war, the fighting, the starvation, the floods, the fires, we're feeling it all, whether you are aware of it or not, whether you're understanding that the pain, the suffering, the feeling of fracture is a deep call from the heart of our earth. So can you let your heart feel and grieve? Can you cry? Can you be with all of this loss and this devastation that our human family is experiencing right now? Can you feel the earth, the destruction of our home planet, the lack of leadership on a global stage? Can you sit with what is and be with it without trying to fix it, without resisting it, without creating a defense? Your energy matters. And how you meet the challenges of life and the challenges of this world matters. I think back to the last time that I saw Sharath, and there was no ceremony, there was no profound hello or goodbye. There was a simple greeting like, oh, hi, surprise, a smile, a nod. There was no sense of practice or asana. We didn't talk about that at all. There was just a sense that we were together, that we were talking to human beings. You know, life was guiding us, and there was a silent acknowledgement of respect and love between us, that we had matured over 20 years. It didn't matter that we hadn't seen each other in 5 years. It didn't matter that we were 20 pounds heavier, that things had changed, our children had grown. The only thing that mattered was that we were there, present with each other, just saying hello and being in each other's energy and sharing that moment in time. It was brief. It was not a long moment. It was a brief moment, but there was light in the eyes. There was kindness in the heart and a mutual feeling that really, truly, we just wanted the best for the other. We just wanted the other to be happy, to experience all that their heart desired. And that's a celebration of a very different kind. It's a celebration of being alive, of existence itself. And you know, love is the only transmission that needs to be given. And that's the only piece that I'm holding on to now. Because yoga isn't found in a piece of paper. It's not found in the signature or in the plaque or in the postures. But yoga is the way that we treat each other. It's the way that we show up for ourselves and others in our world. And it's whether we choose to become a source of noise and fracture and disconnection and divisiveness in our world, or whether we're able to become a quiet, soft space of connection and steadiness and love in a world that is noisy, loud, and hurting. Because for me, an Ashtanga yoga teacher is someone who can do that. Because if you can't do that for yourself, if you can't show up and be there for your friends, even if you don't necessarily like someone, you know, can you at least hold a space for their experience, for their life experience, for their existence, for their presence, for their own process of growing, and letting go and grieving. How can we do that for others, for our students, for our world? And isn't that what yoga really is about? How we're living and being in our world. So before you feel like jumping into the great debate about whether certification is relevant or whether we need more criteria or should be recalled or who deserves what and when and how and who gets bestowed the honor of being given the crown to give out certain recognitions, I just want to invite you to tune in to your heart and let love guide you. Take a breath. Pause. Ask yourself, is this moving me towards deeper connection or away from it? Is this coming from a place of love or fear or sadness or ego? Maybe, just maybe, we can take all the love and all the discipline and all the dedication and devotion and determination that we learned through the practice, through all of those years on our yoga mats in Mysore, and pour it into the places in this world at large and into our own hearts that are truly in need of healing. Because the legacy we're leaving behind, the Parampara, is not about a piece of paper. It's about the relationship. It's about the connection. It's about who we are in the world, who we're showing up with, and who we're growing into. It's about the way that we're living and the way that we're loving. And it's about whether we're able to hold the pain and the brokenness, our own and others. So I hope that this is something that enriches the conversation, that gives you a sense of peace and helps to really direct your mind towards what truly matters, what's truly important for you, and also calls attention to some of the things that maybe we're just distracting ourselves from, that we're missing, some of the things that truly matter, and yet we're feeling powerless over. And that's okay. It's okay, but recognize where it's coming from and slow down enough to be with the feelings of helplessness or be with the feelings of uncertainty or be with the feelings of loss, and get really honest with those parts of yourself that, yes, are suffering, and not try to hide from it, not try to push it down or build it up and pretend it's not there, or bypass it with love and light and, who deserves what and when. But just be with it. Welcome it. The darkness is our friend. It's showing us the tender spots. The sadness is our companion. It's showing us that we're alive, that we care, that we loved, and that there is love. So don't run away from the darkness with distraction. Be in the soft place. Be in the suffering. But recognize that even within the suffering, there is liberation, there is love, and there is light. I wish you a beautiful week, and I can't wait to connect with you next week. If you're not a part of the Finding Harmony community, I welcome you to come in. You'll find the link in the show notes. You're welcome to join me for my full and new moon meditations. Not nude moon, that would be something. That's a different membership. These are full, also could be nude, but full and new moon meditations. And other fun offerings are in there as well as a place to connect and to have conversations and just to be with other people who are seekers and want to grow and keep growing and move into other aspects of practice beyond just the asanas and are interested in perhaps finding harmony within themselves.
That's it. We've concluded another episode of the Finding Harmony podcast. I just want to thank you so much for doing the work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a huge difference. Please make sure you have your automatic downloads turned on wherever you listen so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. I have so much more magic I can't wait to share with you. Lastly, if you're on Instagram, I love connecting and hearing from you. So come on over and say hello at Finding Harmony Podcast. And you can also come say hello to me personally at Harmony Slater Official. Thank you again for being here. I cannot wait to share more with you in our next episode.